Welcome back to Bible Time, everybody. As if you watched any of my previous ones, you know that I'm just working on a journey through the Bible before I die. I'm praying I can get through it, taking you on the journey with me. And I'm reading the English Standard Version. We are on Genesis chapter 38. So today we're going to learn about Judah and Tamar. Disclaimer, any names or places I haven't studied, so if I get them wrong, just go with it, I guess, or correct me in the comments if you so wish. I also have Violet here, who is my Bible kitty. When I take out the Bible, I swear, she can't get enough of it. She's always got to be on my lap when I read it. So you'll probably see her in almost every video, unless she's off taking a nap somewhere. So Miss Violet is my Bible cat. She just loves it when I read the Bible. All right, let's get going. Chapter 38. It happened at that time that Judah went down from his brothers and turned aside to a certain Adullamite, whose name was Hira. There Judah, now this is Joseph, or one of Joseph's brothers. Chapter 37, we left off where Joseph's brothers sold him to the Egyptians, and the Egyptians sold him to an officer of the Pharaoh. All right. And so Judah has now left his brothers, apparently. And if you hear that coughing, that is Violet. She's 14 years old, and she's had some asthma situations which have cleared up a little bit, but she's having like congestive heart failure now. So I don't know how much longer we have with Miss Violet. So you'll hear her cough or get choked up or something. That's from her heart condition that she has. So just forgive it and let it go. Don't let it disturb you. Okay, so now there Judah saw the daughter of a certain Canaanite whose name was Shua. He took her and went into her, and she conceived and bore a son, and he called his name Er. She conceived again and bore a son, and she called his name Onan. Yet again she bore a son, and she called his name Shelah. Judah was in Shibzib when she bore him. And Judah took a wife for Er, his firstborn, and her name was Tamar. But Er, Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord put him to death. Then Judah said to Onan, "Go into your brother's wife and perform the duty of a brother-in-law to her, and raise up offspring for your brother." But Onan knew that the offspring would not be his, so whenever he went into his brother's wife, he would waste the semen on the ground, as not to give offspring to his brother. There's a lot of sex in the Bible, believe it or not. And somebody kind of like jerking off to the ground. God's words, not mine. God can talk about it, so can I, right? I can't help myself. I have so much in common with God. I really don't at all. But let's just keep going. I digress. So verse 10. And what he did was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and he put him to death also. Then Judah said to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, "Remain a widow in your father's house till Shelah my son grows up." For he feared that he would die like his brothers. So Tamar went and remained in her father's house. At this point, the father-in-law is going, "She's a curse to the family. My sons keep dying." Blaming her, I'm sure. In the course of time, the wife of Judah, Shual's daughter, died. When Judah was comforted, he went up to Timnah to his sheep shearers, and he and his friend Hira, the Adullamite. And when Tamar was told, "Your father-in-law is going up to Timnah to shear sheep," she took off her widow's garments and covered herself with a veil, wrapping herself up, and sat at the entrance to Enaim, which is on the road to Timnah. For she saw that Shelah was grown up, and she had not been given to him in marriage. When Judah saw her, he thought she was a prostitute, for she had covered her face. He turned to her at the roadside and said, "Come, let me come in to you." For he did not know that she was his daughter-in-law. She said, "What will you give me that you may come in to me? He answered, I will send you a young goat from the flock. And she said, if you give me a pledge until you send it, he said, cutting her off. I added the cutting her off because that's what it shows in the book. What pledge shall I give you? She replied, your signet and your cord and your staff that is in your hand. So he gave them to her and went into her, and she conceived by him. Then she arose and went away, and taking off her veil, she put on the garments of her widowhood. When Judah sent the young goat by his friend the Adullamite to take back the pledge from the woman's hand, he did not find her. And he asked the men of the place, where is this cult prostitute who was at Enaim at the roadside? And they said, no cult prostitute has been here. So he returned to Judah and said, I have not found her. Also the men of the place said, no cult prostitute has been here. And Judah replied, let her keep the things as her own, or we shall be laughed at. You see, I sent this young goat, and you did not find her. About 3 months later, Judah was told, Tamar, your daughter-in-law, has been immoral. Moreover, she is pregnant by immorality. Gossip. Gossip's getting deep. And Judah said, bring her out and let her be burned. As she was being brought out, she sent word to her father-in-law, by the man to whom these belong, I am pregnant. And she said, please identify who these are, the signet and the cord and the staff. Then Judah identified them and said, she is more righteous than I, since I did not give her to my son Shelah. And he did not know her again. Talk about exiled. When the time of her labor came, they were twins in her womb. And when she was in labor, one put out a hand, and the midwife took and tied a scarlet thread on his hand, saying, this one came out first. But as he drew back his hand, behold, his brother came out. And she said, what a breach you have made for yourself. Therefore his name was called Perez. Afterward, his brother came out with the scarlet thread on his hand, and his name was called Zerah. Interesting. Wonder how they're going to play into the future here. Wowza, wowza. Oh, father-in-law did the nasty with his daughter-in-law. Got her pregnant. And why? God said, you did not fulfill your promise to this girl. You promised her your son. And we'll see if that plays into any future events coming up. Deep, deep, deep. But when we get into chapter 39 next time, we are going to see Joseph's story get a little deeper and heavier. All in the beginning of the Bible. The drama. Awesome. Okay. Till next time, love you. Bye.